Let's begin with our first order of business, and it's the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Scott, could you please certify if we have a quorum?
Yes, sir. Town of Ashland, Vice Chair Hodges, Dr. McGraw, Charles City County, Mr. Atkins, Mr. Patterson, Chesterfield County, Mr. Carroll,
Here.
Mr. Holland, Goochland County, Mr. Spoonhour,
Here.
Mr. Winfrey, Hanover County, Mr. Davis,
Present.
Mr. Hudson, Enrico County, Mr. Nelson, New Kent County, Mr. Moyer,
Here.
Ms. Pearson, Powhatan County, Mr. McClung,
Here.
Mr. Kinney, City of Richmond, Chair Stoney,
Here.
Ms. Nye, Virginia House of Delegates, Delegate Cousins, Senate of Virginia, Senator Hashmi. Here. Commonwealth Transportation Board, Mr. Davis.
Here.
Capital Region Airport Commission, Mr. Miller, Mr. Rutledge. GRTC, Ms. Adams.
Here.
Ms. Torres.
Here.
RMTA, Ms. Dean.
Here.
DRPT, Mr. Brule, Mr. Trogdon. BDOT, Mr. Britch, Mr. Totten,
Here.
Mr. Riblett.
Here.
Virginia Port Authority, Mr. Edwards, Ms. Vick, and Ms. Nelson.
Here.
Thank you.
I just want to note that I am here on behalf of DRPT, Tiffany Davinsky. I figured using Jen's name tag would be a little less confusing than that.
Thank you. I will note it.
Show your ID. No.
We do not have a physical form until we get to that.
So we can continue with the meeting, but we do not have a quorum to take action on any items. Correct, until Mr. Nelson arrives. Okay, all right. We'll move on to welcome and introductions. I just want to, I'm glad to be back after taking a little paternity leave for the arrival of my little girl. She is 2 months old today, actually. So 8 weeks of action. No sleep. Well, you know, I'm not going to brag, but I've been getting enough sleep, and so she's been very cooperative with the evening hours, I must say. So I've been told not to brag by my pediatrician because it can change literally overnight. So I want to thank Ms. Nye, Council President Nye, for filling in for me while I was gone. And I hear nothing happened. Nothing crazy happened. So glad to be back with you all here at CVTA. We'll move on to item A of the administration side of things. Item 1, I've received and accepted requests for the Port of Virginia's representative to join remotely due to distance. Mr. Parsons or Mr. Gregory, could you please read the language for the motion? Well, actually, I think I have it too.
Yes. The chair has approved requests from one member to participate remotely, Ms. Barbara Nelson. The reason stated was that the principal residence location is more than 60 miles from the meeting location. The floor is open to entertain a motion to confirm that, 1, the decision to approve the member's request was in conformance with the CVTA policy for remote participation of members, and 2, the voice of the remotely participating member can be heard by all persons at the primary meeting location.
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend deferring action on this until we have a quorum.
We will defer this action until Mr. Nelson arrives. So we'll go on item 2 then. Consideration of amendments to the action meeting agenda. Are there any actions on the, anything needs to be changed? I guess we can't do that either because we're just moving down the agenda then.
I guess you could do member comments.
So he could.
Public comment.
Was there any open comment period, anything, do we have any comments from the public?
We have not received any requests to speak.
No requests, nothing, okay. Then I'll go to the chairman's report then. Got a couple of items couple things to say here. For today's chairman's report, I would like to, again, thank Council President Nye for filling in for me these past few meetings. Furthermore, I'd like to thank this body for showing her how well managed our regional transportation investments are. And I also would like to bring up for Mr. Parsons that while the authority has taken some small steps forward, I know, towards bonding, I do think we need to revisit my request I think I made back in August of 2023 to assess CVTA's long-term funding needs. And I believe it's imperative that we develop a 2-month plan, if possible, to move forward that describes funding scenarios with projects and the timeline for which the project needs the funds, and that would be considered for the inaugural bonding package that we will have moving forward. I believe then that authority could use this information in determining if bonding should be in the very near future or not in the very near future. I do hope that the members will all agree with this path forward, so we can start taking some action. And Mr. Parsons, is this something that you think that you and your team can develop for us in conjunction with the TAC in a reasonable timeline?
Absolutely. We are actually working with the Finance Committee to start that process next month's meeting.
Awesome. I saw Mr. Nelson just walk in, and Rico is well represented. And so we have Ms. Nelson on the line over here. So we'll do a confirmation of member participation from a remote location. I've approved the request for one member's participation remotely. That reason was already given, 60 miles from the residence, from the meeting location. So I will now entertain a motion to confirm that the decision to approve the member's request was in conformance with the CVTA policy for remote participation of members, and the voice of a remotely participating member can be heard by all persons at the primary location.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is this a voice vote? Ms. Fryerson will call, Ms. Scott will call the roll.
It's a voice vote.
Oh, it's a voice vote. Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to the next item then. Now we're on item 2. Any considerations for amendments to the action meeting agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, the approval of the March 29th, 2024 CVTA full body action meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved to the second. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We'll move on to item 4, the comment period, and we saw no comments, whether remotely or in person. So we'll move down to item 5. We've already done that. Move down to the public hearing for the FY 2025 CVTA administrative and operating expense budget. We will now have a public hearing regarding the matter, and for the operating budget as well. Mr. Parsons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did want to, I'm putting on the screen the information regarding the public hearing that is taking place today. The purpose of the meeting, zoom into that, is to hold a public hearing on the FY 2025 administrative and operating budget for the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. This opportunity was published with a 15-day public review period in a number of locations, and I can share that here as well, including the Goochland Gazette, the Mechanicsville Ashland Local, Henrico Citizen, New Kent Chronicle, on multiple social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for Plan RVA, as well as the CVTA socials. Powhatan Today, Richmond Free Press, the Times Dispatch, and then on both the Plan RVA and CVTA websites. I will ask Ms. Scott, but we did not receive any public comments submitted as part of this public review period. I don't believe there's any members of the public in the room to provide comments today. So, Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I will refer the board to page 12 of the agenda packet for the staff report on the FY25 administrating and operating budget. The background, as part of the duties prescribed in the Code of Virginia and under its adopted bylaws, the CVTA is required to develop an annual budget. The language of the bylaws was included in the staff report, but I'm not going to read that for the group today. I did want to highlight some of the changes between FY24 and FY25, referencing the notes that are included in the budget table, which you can find on page 14 and 15. There was just going line by line, there was a slight increase in administration and staffing to cover coordinated planner VA assumptions regarding cost of living adjustments for staff and additional staff coverage for financial and administrative management. I believe I mentioned this to the Finance Committee at our last meeting. We're going to take on some additional time from Ms. Fusco on the planner VA staff to assist me in developing a more regular reporting on budget items and financial actions. And she's going to be working directly with Ms. Basie and her team in Chesterfield to make sure that we have everything coordinated. So that's the administration and staffing coverage. We will see a reduction in fees for financial advisors, bond preparation services, and bond counsel. And the primary reason for that is we are now in the window where we are actually considering issuance of bonds. And any costs, aside from the quarterly advisory fees from PFM, will be included in the cost of the bond issuance itself. So the work that we are going to get over the next year from Kaufman and Canolis, as well as PFM, over and above the quarterly advisory fees, will be included in the cost of the bond issuance when we get to it. Contracted services, there's an increase there to cover the cost to finalize and publish the Fall Line Trail wayfinding plan. That is going to be complete in the next few months over the summer. And we're also going to develop task orders in a new engineering on-call that Planner VA is developing with my input for off-year existing project support and to cover the next round of regional funding in fiscal year 26. Most of what we've done with consultants up to this point was develop specific requests for proposals and work orders to assist with validation of cost estimates for the many different regional projects that have been approved by the authority. So we'll be able to do that now with a task order process rather than actual proposals and award of contracts. I mean, that's going to ease some of the burden on Mr. Gregory as we get into that process. We are going to see an increase in technology and support services, including the use of the Planner VA Communications and Engagement Bench to develop an approach for a standalone website for the CVTA. Anyone who has gone to the current CVTA site understands that it is nested within Planner VA, and we want to have something that's more readily accessible to the public. And I guess to go back to the imperative that Mr. Thornton has always approached us to do is we want the public to know about the CVTA and to learn more about what we do. So that's part of this effort. And then we're going to have a focus on technology, prioritizing data to share with the public and stakeholders, including developing web tools to engage the community and educate them on the importance of the CVTA and to share data that we have developed. We are going to prepare an RFP for website development, award, and production of that contract to create this new CVTA website. And the focus there is going to be on something that is easy to digest for the public. It is an education tool for everyone, including all of us. And we also want it to be easily maintained by staff. So we don't want to have ongoing costs to to make regular updates. We want that to be something that the staff is able to do easily and in a quick manner. And then finally, on that item is we want to, in looking to the future, we want to have the capability of developing video content that supports the storytelling about the impact of the CVTA and the regional project highlights. And I know that we have had great support from Chesterfield County as well as Henrico County in developing the video content that we've produced to this point. And that may still be an option moving forward. I know that Mr. Carroll has mentioned that, but we want to have the capability to provide that support if needed, if those cooperative efforts aren't possible. So that may be a flexible line item that we could call on if necessary. We're going to see increases in specialty software licenses to assist in visualization of data, audience polling and presentations. This would include subscription fees for the executive director to continue professional development through access to best practices. And then finally, increase in public engagement to cover development of enhanced tools for sharing the CVTA story with the public and external partners. Things such as data dashboards, charts and graphs, survey tools, and real-time polling and preference surveys. Most of this will be done in coordination with Plan RBA. As you all know, the Plan RBA staff is top-notch and already has a lot of those data development skill sets that we can utilize through our memorandum of understanding and agreement with Plan RBA. So my plan for the next year is to continue to utilize those partnerships and make the CVTA tools the best it can be. I think the bottom line, though, after that, sharing that update, is you can see on page 15 that the budget, the draft budget for FY25 is virtually identical at the end of the day to what was amended last month by the authority for FY24. So we do not see any major increases in the budget. We're going to be able to continue the work products that we have provided so far, and with the changes that I just highlighted. So, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to take any questions from the board. I think this is a public hearing, so we do need to follow those procedures as well.
Ms. Scott, let's make sure the record reflects that we've been joined by Delegate Cousins. Delegate Cousins is in attendance. Are there any questions for Mr. Parsons? Mr. Spoonhour.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, Mr. Parsons, I know we're all very familiar with budget season, so thank you for you and your team for going through this exercise. I just have a quick question about the contracted services to update, finalize and publish the fall line wayfinding plan.
Yes.
That seems like a project expense, the way it's written, as opposed to an operating expense. Could you explain why that would be in an operational budget and not tied to a certain project?
Yes, that's a great question. To this point, the CVTA has set aside, we have the 3 pots of money, right? So we have the regional pot, which has typically been used to fund only the regional priority applications submitted by the member localities. The operating budget has been the natural landing point for contracted services. So anything that is consultant-based serving the CVTA has been put into the operating budget, the administration and operating budget, back to 2020, when the first thing we did was do the transit governance study. That's where that process got started. So I've just been following the normal procedures that the CVTA has used to this point. I think there may be some flexibility in the future if we wanted to include those types of costs somewhere else, but we would certainly need to have that discussion.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth maybe the finance committee discussing that, because if we're allocating monies to certain projects and then those projects are getting extra dollars allocated out of an operating budget, I would just wonder if the finance committee would consider, potentially a different path for that.
Any further questions for Mr. Parsons?
Mr. Chair, I think that raises a good question. I just don't know how we would do it, considering that, there's 5 different jurisdictions that are part of this Wayfinder plan. And I think we would have to really break down the cost overall to each project, and then have to look at incorporating it into each different project. So Richmond's might be different than Henrico's or Chesterfield's or Ashland's. So I have no problem with looking at that at all, by the way, but it just changes a little bit, but not by much.
Mr. Spoonhour.
And I think Mr. Carroll brings up a great point, and perhaps it's a moving forward as we start, as Mr. Parsons, as you said, a lot of these, when we're looking at overall, surveys and things like that, maybe figure out a way, if it's appropriate, to tie it back to a certain project or not. It may not be in this case, but as the CVTA starts to develop and, we mature, maybe just, part of our operating process moving forward.
Any other questions for Mr. Parsons? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the FY 2025 administrative and operating budget?
So moved.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
You can just close it, sir.
I'll close it then. We'll close the public hearing. We'll move to the motion then. Is there a motion now?
So moved. Second.
It's moved and seconded. Ms. Scott.
Mr. Atkins,
Aye.
Mr. Carroll,
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson,
Aye.
Mr. Moyer,
Aye.
Mr. McClung,
Aye.
Chair Stoney,
Aye.
Delegate Cousins,
Aye.
Senator Hashmi,
Aye.
and Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Thank you, that motion carries.
The budget is approved for FY 2025. We'll move on to Section C, action items. DRTC has presented their regional public transportation plan at the CVTA TAC level, and as well as the TPO TAC level as well. Today, GRTC comes before us today for the final approval, and I believe this presentation will be handled by Ms. Torres. Is that correct? All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Welcome, Ms.
Chair.
Torres.
This is gonna be a highlight of what we accomplished in FY '24, which was a very exciting year for GRTC. We were actually able to do some expansion that we had prioritized with the Regional Public Transportation Plan back in '21. So I'll go over what those were. Then I'll give you guys an update on what our priorities are for FY '25, and then jump into kind of what's the overall recommendation. Should all have the handout as well. Go on to the next one. Alright, so the FY '24 updates is how it was listed in the plan last year that came forward. Was our main goal, maintain service levels, but to return service to pre-pandemic levels, because we were still operating a deficit due to losing operators during COVID. We had started COVID about 280 operators and had ended around 230. So we had quite a hurdle to overcome, and we overcame that, which was very, very exciting. So we got to put service back, as well as do some expansion, which I'll get into in that last bullet. Our second priority was to capital needs, state of good repair, and some rider experience. I just highlighted 2 here, but we received 19 buses to just keep our fleet up to date. And then we very excitedly opened a temporary downtown transfer station at 8th and Clay in downtown Richmond. The capital match, as a reminder, we just do a match to the local for a lot of our DRPT merit awards. So it's about $500,000 for that 2% match. Planning studies, we continued full force with the support efforts for microtransit, as well as supported our transit strategic plan, which was a regional effort to do our 10-year plan for transit. And then for implementation, we implemented so far 4 of our 5 zones for microtransit, and those hit Henrico, Ashland, Hanover, Powhatan, and Chesterfield. We expanded Route 1A to Chesterfield Town Center, Walmart Way, which is a 7-mile extension on Midlothian Turnpike, so that was very huge. We got to double our frequency on the Route 19, which goes all the way to Short Pump, And a nice bonus with that one is we got to also extend that route across the Goochland line to Sheltering Arms, which we have heard has made such a huge difference for that facility. Next one, Sid. And this just highlights those. I want to go ahead and show that the expansion, that state expansion that we did, were all grants, so they were not CVTA funds, primarily DRPT, and then there were some I-64 funds related to operating that we had received, I want to say in 21, that we finally got to utilize with some of those Henrico expansions. Next one. So very similar kind of structure for FY '25, maintain transit operations, definitely got back to pre-pandemic levels, looking at 24.5 million to just maintain what we already have. Same effort with capital, looking at the 2% match for a lot of our merit, local match requirements from DRPT. Two of the big ones there are the north-south and the western expansion of our BRTs. Those are looking at NEPA and a little bit of station locations. Vehicle replacement, we're looking at 21 replacements for our fixed route vehicles, as well as our paratransit vehicles. And then looking at moving forward, once we close out the study for the downtown transfer station, and hopefully can identify some next steps, but we did receive funds for doing some environmental analysis for that. Planning studies, continuing those efforts. I know in parallel, the rural jurisdictions are going to be working on an effort to look at transportation within their jurisdictions. So all that will feed into whether it's micromobility, but will feed into our strategic plan for next year. And then we have three big expansions that we have prioritized for FY '25. Route 1, which is our northern line that goes from the city of Richmond basically to the Henrico border today. That will go to J-Sarge in the beginning of July. And then we'll go all the way to Virginia Center Commons in October. So another huge expansion win in the jurisdictions. We also, doubled our frequency. I'm sorry, that's supposed to say Route 7, 9 mile to the airport. So on the 9 mile trunk, you'll have about 15-minute frequency to be able to get anywhere from there to probably White Oak area. And then right now it's about every 60 minutes to get to the airport. So that will also be reduced to about every 30 minutes. So that's big. And then 3 additional micro transits. We have Sandston that will open July 1, and then 2 additional that could support just recently, or at least part of the draft recommendation from the SIP. And those actually come out of Richmond Connects. We got to work with the city. They had some prioritized ones for year 1 after they closed out that report, and that's Broad Rock and Montrose. Next slide. This just again highlights, we are trying our best with the expansion and support of the state to implement these all as more or less pilots. So again, no CVTA funds for the expansion at this time. They all have grant support in the first 1 to 3 years. Next slide. So in summary, GRTC, as previous years, for those who don't know, we actually wait till we accrue the dollars from the year before to support our needs in the next year. So once we get all of the funds for FY '24, that will be our funds for FY '25. So we are looking at an estimate about 30.8 million as we close out June for 2024. 24.5 of that will support maintaining our current service levels. About $1 million will go towards just matching our capital needs. So looking at about 25 million or so of the 30 to support our FY '25 needs. The 5 million remainder we will be putting into a restricted reserve of the FY '24 funds. And then as the FY '25 come in and as we accrue them, those will just go straight to restricted reserve, and we'll come back next year to ask for use for those for next year. Taking questions?
Mr. Carroll.
The new route in Chesterfield that goes all the way out to western part of Midlothian, how long has that been in place?
That went in January, it was the 13th.
What do the numbers look like, do you know? Or can we get some information on that?
Yes.
Just hope people use it.
It is absolutely being used, and you can imagine the hot spots are the mall, Walmart, and then pockets along the way. And we are making one change in June to actually go right in front of Johnson Willis. We've heard that's a need.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Carroll.
The bus stops that we have there right now, not covered? No,
As far as
no-
shelters?
Yeah,
No, right now they're just bus stops.
so something, I mean, based on frequency, if they're used a lot, that's something we need to look at in the future, I guess.
Yeah, I know there's already priority in the Chesterfield identified as well as some of the capital infrastructure.
Just want to make sure we get them done. Thank you.
I wanted to add to Mr. Carroll's question and just, if there's any way you all can talk about your progress on the shelters, bus shelters around the region. Obviously, I want to know about what's going on in the city. Can you provide an update there?
Sure. Well, we have an aggressive goal to get about 75% of our bus stop shelters. I think that our need, we had estimated somewhere around 25 million. Of course, not identifying the larger infrastructure requirements for like sidewalks, so what GRTC can handle. We have actually received about 10 million in grants so far. So we've worked towards that, and then we have also worked with the jurisdictions from Henrico and Chesterfield to get kind of past the VDOT hurdle. So all that's set. So I think in the city, we did about 20 or so last year, and we have ordered 50 more. Those will be here in July and August, and those are split primarily in the city. Some of those will go to Henrico, and a couple will go into Chesterfield. So we're moving forward, and I am hoping that we can get another order to our board soon, since we have the funds, want to be able to get these in as soon as possible.
Great stuff.
Yeah, you'll see 50 more this summer.
Good, good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am, first, two questions briefly. The leveraged state and federal grant funds that are there, the 971,000. That went through a matrix. Is that how you got your number? Is that, so there's an index to that in potential grants?
Yes, our amount is 48 million that in total for grants, so that is the 2% match required
Then
of the
pre-identified.
total. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was smart. Okay. And then lastly, on the restricted reserve, so that's gonna say interagency, and then you come back to CVTA for authorization to utilize those in FY '25. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you, man. Thanks, sir.
Chair, just follow up.
Mr. Carroll.
Your restricted reserve fiscal agent are we holding that and investing that for you, or who's doing it?
We are holding a GRTC and we have it invested, I believe, in 2 separate accounts.
Just gonna say, you see our report later, you might want to invest. We're doing
Oh,
pretty good.
Chesterfield, here we go.
We're doing pretty good, just saying.
Where is Mr. Peterson at for this conversation?
He'd be saying, good job.
That's right, very true. Mr. Moore.
Question of curiosity, how much is a bus nowadays?
Depends on the bus, so all fully loaded, roughly $1 million for a bus. The Arctics are closer to which is the 60-foot ones, about $1.3 million. Yeah.
You know, going through budgets with fire.
I was gonna say a fire apparatus is the same.
I'm just curious how,
Yeah.
how they're about the same.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
One holds a lot more people.
About buses.
What's used more?
Is there a focus on purchasing like low carbon emission buses?
So this next round of 21 buses will actually put us at 100% for compressed natural gas for our fixed route. And our paratransit vehicles are already 100%. We are piloting, we're gonna get 5 electric buses, and that'll be for kind of our commuter charter line to kind of pilot and start doing some workforce development and training for our union staff to learn that. And then we're also piloting some of the micro transit. We're gonna get 5 of those as well, just to kind of get our feet wet and understand how to support them. And then we'll look at some sort of expansion. But right now, compressed natural gas. Got it.
As far as I have one question, can you just lay out the numbers in terms of ridership today compared to pre-pandemic?
Sure, we actually are about to surpass 10 million this year, which is the highest ridership we have ever had at GTC. 2010, we had close, and that was because we had VCU, which we do now, but we also had VCU shuttles to their parking lots. So that was huge. So pre-pandemic, we were still on our way up. I wanna say we're about 1 million more than we were then, somewhere like 8.7 million was the pre-pandemic level. And we had just done our network redesign and we had just done our pulse line. So we were, I think that first year, we were about 16% increase from the year before. So zero fare has made a huge difference, but I mean, in addition to that, it's just expansion is the real way to get a new population that you didn't have before. So the increases with that have made a difference as well.
I know there are, when compared to a number of the other systems around the country that there's only a handful that are seeing an increase since the pandemic, and I'm proud to say that GRTC is one of those, one of the handful that actually have seen that increase. And so I think we all should feel good about the investment that we're making in GRTC and, bringing to life a real regional transportation network here in the Richmond Metro. I think it's gonna go a long way to help working class families in all of our localities get to work and back home. Mr. Nelson.
So it's hard to sit here and,
Board member of the.
technically the chair. It's hard to sit here and not, shout out these two ladies. And, so the reconfiguration of the board, I think, went a long way. Thankful for the General Assembly and, some things that they did to get us to where we needed to be. Our former executive left us, and we went through a hybrid process, and we didn't get the pool. I mean, well, let me not say that. We had two persons that we actually talked to. Neither one of them we hired, and one day somebody in our group just said, maybe we need to, because Cheryl Adams was doing interim leadership, maybe we need to just look at Cheryl as our leader. And Cheryl had been there for 25 plus years. And, I went and talked to her and talked her into doing it. And her and Adrian have done a tremendous job. So Cheryl's, where were you actually, the COO?
COO and then COS.
Yeah, so, and then Adrian was the,
Chief Development Officer.
right. So we just moved them two up, and Adrian's chief of staff now, Cheryl is the CEO. And really haven't even we've been trying to backfill. We did backfill one of the spots, right?
Yes, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, so, so for the last 18 months, they've been running this thing on a shoestring staff for executive leadership. But, operators, at one point, we were down like 230 or something. Now we over 300. We had the most operators, I think, that we've ever had before.
The TV ads worked?
TV ads, rapping buses and all that other stuff. The TV ads, you couldn't watch TV without it. But expanding, as you see, and so the ridership is just gonna continue to go up.
That's good.
And so I just kudos to you guys. You're doing an incredible job. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Could you expand on, you were talking about your services, your priorities. What are some of the rural initiatives that you're looking at?
So far, we have just done the microtransit in Powhatan and then basically the peripheral of Hanover and Ashland. Working with the TPO TAC and the rural jurisdictions are working on kind of their own rural assessment and needs, and we're looking forward to the outcome of that, and of course, being involved in whatever support need. They'd have to give the update as far as where the status of that is, but that will feed into our regional transportation plan for next year.
Thank you.
So are you asking, because Charles City has some interest in micro transit expansion in Charles City?
They have an interest in the expansion period.
That's what I like to hear. Okay. Mr. McClung.
I got one announcement, speaking of Powhatan, we're having our ribbon cutting on May 6th, 11 o'clock, so I'll be in the courthouse area.
Okay.
Everyone's invited.
Everybody's invited.
Powhatan. Thank you.
Any more questions for our friends at GRTC? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the 2024 GRTC Regional Public Transportation Plan? Moved and seconded. Ms. Scott, can you call the roll?
voice vote.
We recommend a roll call just because of the nature of it.
I was just reading.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
We're putting out the agenda.
Mr. Atkins. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Mr. Davis. Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Mr. Moyer.
Aye.
Mr. McClung.
Aye.
Chair Stoney.
Aye.
Delegate Cousins.
Aye.
Senator Hashmi.
Aye.
And Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries.
The motion carries. We'll now move on to, I believe we have 5 standard project agreements from Henrico County for approval and signature, Mr. Parsons.
Yes, sir.
No, it's always, it's not that easy, come on now.
Yeah, this won't take long.
Gonna vote on the block, is that what you wanna do?
Block vote.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to present the 5 items that are included in the agenda packet. These 5 projects were actually included in round 2 of the regional funding package back in December of 2022. We are excited to present these for signature by the CVTA chair. The requested action is in the agenda, the motion to approve and authorize the execution of each Henrico County standard project agreement individually. And we will do requesting a roll call vote for each one.
For each one, yes.
I thought in finance we said we were doing this as a block. So roll call for each one.
That's correct.
Mr. Spoonhour wants to know why.
Yeah, he said it, I heard him.
That was my outside
Mr. Gregory,
voice.
do you-
Well, Mr. Chair, I would like to, if you want to take them in a block, I suppose you could do that, but I would recommend taking them individually, just because they are individual contracts, individual transactions, with their own individual, financial obligations for both entities.
This is
That's
the
my recommendation.
recommendation of the parliamentarian, is to go with this individual one by one.
You can do it
Which
quickly.
is, I trust our attorney implicitly, and we often do this in our jurisdictions, and if somebody wants to pull if a motion is made, somebody can pull one thing out to discuss, I'm just saying. But, yeah, I'll defer to the chair.
We'll do this,
Block if they want.
we'll do this one by one. So bear with us.
Rather quickly, I might add. Motion
Yes.
to approve the first one.
Yes, motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve CVTA 0021?
So moved.
Belabor it.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Scott?
Mr. Atkins.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Mr. Moyer.
Aye.
Mr. McClung.
Aye.
Chair Stoney.
Aye.
Delegate Cousins.
Aye.
Senator Hashmi.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve CVTA -0026? It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. Ms. Scott?
Mr. Atkins.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Mr. Moyer.
Aye.
Mr. McClung.
Aye.
Chair Stoney.
Aye.
Delegate Cousins.
Aye.
Senator Hashmi.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve CVTA -0035?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and, it's been moved and seconded. Ms. Scott?
Mr. Atkins.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Mr. Moyer.
Aye.
Mr. McClung.
Aye.
Chair Stoney.
Aye.
Delegate Cousins.
Aye.
Senator Hashmi.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.
Is there a motion to approve CVTA -0037?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Scott?
Mr. Atkins.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Mr. Moyer.
Aye.
Mr. McClung.
Aye.
Chair Stoney.
Aye.
Delegate Cousins.
Aye.
Senator Hashmi.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve CVTA -0040?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Scott?
Mr. Atkins.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Mr. Moyer.
Aye.
Mr. McClung.
Aye.
Chair Stoney.
Aye.
Delegate Cousins.
Aye.
Senator Hashmi.
Aye.
And Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries as well.
The motion carries. You're welcome, Henrico County.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 3, the FY 25 meeting schedule. Mr. Parsons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The meeting schedule is on page 46, 47, and 48. And this is the proposed FY 25 schedule for not just the authority, but also the Technical Advisory Committee and the Finance Committee and the Fall Line Working Group. These are all, this is all an action item, and the requested action is to approve the FY 25 meeting schedule as presented. This can be a voice vote.
Any questions about the schedule?
Mr. Chair, I do
Mr.
have
Carroll.
one point. Unfortunately, I am going to be out of town on October 25th.
Where are you going?
Taking us with you? Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay, all right. A little bit warmer.
I was wondering if we could, I can always get someone to fill in, but if we could move that now to the 18th, that would just solve that problem of October. If not, I'll
Mr. Parsons?
try and get someone to cover for me.
We will make it work if that's what the board would like to do.
I've got a question.
Mr. Nelson.
And I'm just asking, is there a reason that we actually have to meet every month? Like, don't shoot the messenger. Like, is there a reason why we can't do 6 to 8 meetings versus 12 monthly meetings? Monthly finance meetings, monthly CVTA meetings?
Not a bad question.
I mean, I'm just.
We are skipping no meeting in August and no meeting in November
Okay,
and no meeting in May. So
okay.
we have some days, some months that we are not meeting.
What page is that? 41, 6?
46.
Down to 9.
I think the general preference is to hold those meetings for the board, and then if there is no action, usually there is a decision that you can opt to cancel. So it's better to put it on your schedule in advance. That would be my thought process.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think that Ms. Dubinsky is absolutely correct. For an item that we just took action on, there may be project agreements that need action to get reimbursement requests started. So, Mr. Nelson, if it's okay, I think the preference would be to hold the date and then cancel if the Finance Committee and the Technical Committee don't have recommended actions.
So has that happened?
It has happened, Mr. Chair, actually.
Yeah, okay.
We have canceled Finance Committee meetings, and I think at least one regular CVTA meeting where we didn't have anything we needed to discuss.
Okay. I mean, I love meetings.
I know, Mr.
We can
Nelson,
bring
you sit on a lot
breakfast if it
of
makes it better.
different boards and commissions. I recognize this.
Like, meetings are just, I wake up for meetings.
Don't we all?
Okay, but it makes sense. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
Wake up in a meeting.
Mr. Chair, back to the 18th.
Yes.
I will actually be out of town that day, but if it's okay with you, we'd be happy to work with everybody in the room to see if we can find an alternate day and time for the October
That
meeting.
works for me, Mr. Parsons.
October. Maybe we can skip October.
Maybe, if we have no actions.
Second.
So it's an asterisk on that one. We'll go back to that, but should we still entertain a motion to approve the meeting schedule for FY 25?
Second.
So moved and seconded. Ms. Scott? Oh, no, this is a voice vote.
Which one?
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. All right, now we'll move on to item 4 is an invitation to the governor to address the CVTA. Mr. Parsons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is actually an outcome of the discussion at the Finance Committee. But what we've included in the packet for review by the authority and approval on page 49 is a letter from the CVTA to Governor Youngkin to extend an invitation to come and talk to the authority about the administration and the Just a regular update on to the members regarding transportation and our opportunity as a CVTA to help improve the workings of the Central Virginia region. Mr. Carroll, this was kind of out of your guidance from the Finance Committee. Be happy to
I'll speak to
turn
it,
it over to you if you had any
Mr.
other
Chair.
comments.
You know, I guess we failed, quite frankly, to get the opportunity to get the previous governor to be able to come to the CVTA. And then part of what Mr. Thornton always spoke to us as an authority is about the ability to get the message out of the great work that the CVTA is doing. And I do think that if this is a good tradition to start for not just this governor, but all future governors to come in and actually see what this organization does. And it's an opportunity for us to get, quite frankly, media coverage of that, to get it out to the community in a way to get more information about the great things that the CVTA has actually been doing over the last 3 years. And so my thought is to open up the opportunity for the governor to come, actually try and get media coverage to actually come here and get the message out to the community, and as well get the message to the governor, because quite frankly, I'm sure Mr. Davis does a great job in briefing the administration about everything that the CVTA does. But I do think it's something that the head of the state should have an opportunity to come and see what we're doing and address and really get the message out to the community. So that was the thought process behind it. And actually, I think I actually had talked to Mr. Thornton when he was chair about doing this. We just never got it done. So that's the theory behind it, Mr. Chair.
And I would say it's a whole lot easier to get here to CVTA than it is to get to HR TAC or to MVTA, so, just saying. Just a few miles from.
He could literally take an Uber. It's really close.
Don't think they'll allow him to do that, but I like the idea. Any questions, any thoughts from the membership? Do we have a motion to authorize the letter of invitation to the governor?
So moved.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye. Maybe we
Motion
get to take
carries.
the bus.
Yeah, maybe we'll take the bus for free.
Really good.
Get a lot of press for that one. We'll now move on to our monthly reports. We'll move to Finance Committee first.
Mr. Chair. Make me put my glasses on. Mr. Chair, we have a draft CVTA 25 administrative operating budget, which we discussed in the Finance Committee. We've already voted on today. And of course, the Henrico Standard Project agreements were approved to be forwarded to the full committee for consideration, which we voted on today. The quarterly report, local expenditures, we received an overview of the quarterly report for the localities. Ted, I think that's in the agenda as well today, so people can see that.
Yes.
And then the TAC, they have been working hard as usual. Ms. Clark provided a report on the group's activities and summarized the following topics, which I'm sure she will talk about again today. The Fall Line Trail, the Virginia Capital Trail Foundation sports backers are interested as organizations in providing management of the Fall Line Trail. The TAC and the Fall Line Working Group are working to determine what the needs will be and what the best management format will be. There needs to be some discussion, Mr. Chair, about actually who would be authorized to even award that. Because although the CVTA has actually provided substantial funding in the state through CTB has provided substantial funding, you know, you're talking about 5 different jurisdictions that are involved in this process. And I think VDOT actually probably is the one that actually owns all of the right of way. So we just have to have a discussion as to how any type of organization would be chosen to do that. Am I right on that, Mr. Thompson?
I'm sorry, sir, I was dealing with an overturned dump truck on 95, so, can you?
Where on 95?
Yeah.
North of here, Hanover
Okay.
County.
That would distract
Got one in
me.
Amelia too, if anybody's interested in that.
What we were talking about is, part of what the TAC has been discussing is the fact that sports backers and the Capital Trail Foundation are interested in possibly administering and overseeing the future Fall Line Trail when it's completed. And my understanding, of course, it goes through 5 different jurisdictions. And the right-of-ways, are they gonna be actually owned by VDOT?
So it's a combination of right-of-way and permanent easements that will be there for public use with the stewardship by the department at the time, at least in Hanover, Henrico, City of Richmond to be determined, Chesterfield, obviously, similar. So normally, and if I use the Capitol Trail as an example, VDOT maintains that. There are things that are what we would call betterments or embellishments that are maintained under permit through the Capitol Trail Foundation. For things that are outside of the standard pavements, trees, grass mowing, litter pickup, those are gonna end up being VDOT responsibilities. And I'll generally speaking, we don't enter into agreements with folks that can vote themselves out of existence, for lack of a better word. So we would envision from a maintenance standpoint that ultimately the core elements would be ours. Certainly we can work with those partners if they want those enhancements or the embellishments, but the way I would envision it happening is we'll end up bearing that responsibility, and I would be surprised if we would consider that a serious handing it over.
Okay. As you can see, Mr. Chair.
There's nothing to.
I'm sorry?
Someone said Siri.
Oh, sorry, that's probably me, right? Somebody Siri's on.
She was gonna answer the question for you.
I know, right? It's the world we're living in.
Down for AI. If she started talking in your voice, we're in trouble. And then, of course, the TAC met on April 8th, recommended approval of the GRTC Public Transportation Plan, which we just did. And of course, they reviewed Henrico SBA agreements, which we just approved, and we talked about the regional framework lots in terms. So, Mr. Chair, that is the Finance Committee report.
Okay. We got the financial activities and investment reports, Mr. Parsons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's page 50 through 53 of the packet. We started a new reporting tool, as I mentioned, with the assistance of Ms. Fusco. That's on page 53, so you can see in graphical format, kind of I'm sorry, that's the next item. I will focus on page 50 and 51, the investment report. And I think that the main thing to focus on here is to continue to toot our own horn in terms of the reinvestment of funds and seeing the interest earnings. I just look back, over the last 3 months, we're seeing about $1 million a month in interest earnings added for FY24. So just continue to applaud the work of the team at Chesterfield County and working with them to make sure that CVTA continues to see those earnings coming in. And I believe Mr. Carroll might have said it at the Finance Committee. $8 million in a year is enough to fund a couple projects. So just in interest, we're making some great strides. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. I can move on to the Executive Director's report.
Any questions for Mr. Parsons? Seeing none, Mr. Parsons.
Thank you. 2 items for the Executive Director's report. We just approved the schedule for FY25, but our last meeting of this year, I believe, is June 13th, which is the joint annual meeting with Plan RVA and Richmond Regional TPO. It is. We are excited to enter into that partnership again and look forward to the joint annual meeting. More information will be forthcoming on that. And then the next item is actually on page 53, which I jumped to earlier. This is our quarterly report through Q2, actually, of locality expenditures. We are working with the Finance Committee to do updates by quarter with each jurisdiction on the CVTA local dollars that have been allocated and expended for projects by each jurisdiction. This is a voluntary reporting effort, but it all builds to the end of the fiscal year when each locality, each member has to certify that the local funds collected and dispersed by the CVTA have been used for the purposes prescribed by the state code, so transportation needs. So this is just our record keeping, and this is our quarterly update to you regarding the funds that each locality have expended through that 50% CVTA local amount. So that is here for your information. You can, you will note that some jurisdictions have reported already their third quarter spending, but not everyone has. So we will continue to update this database as those reports come in. But this is a great snapshot if you ever want to see what impact the CVTA has had in each locality. You can take a look at this and see the breadth and distribution of all the CVTA dollars for all kinds of different needs. And each jurisdiction has been different. We've noted that over the years that the flexibility and the use of CVTA dollars is really a great thing and can fund anything from staffing to safety improvements, intersections to widenings. So happy to take any questions. I think there's a couple TAC members in the room if there's anything specific for any jurisdiction that you'd like more information on.
Any questions for Mr. Parsons? Seeing none? Anything else, Mr. Parsons? Anything further?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll move on to the TAC committee report. Ms. Moore Clark will present that.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Diana Moore Clark here, City of Richmond, CVTA TAC Chair. The CVTA Technical Advisory Committee met on Monday, April the 8th at 1 p.m. And we also met prior to that week on Wednesday, April the 3rd at 9 a.m. for the Fall Line Working Group. We discussed many items that were already approved today, so thank you on the GRTC Regional Transportation Plan and the locality spas. We spent about an hour talking and discussing the regional framework parking lot list. So we talked about, and we've put these into kind of manageable topics so that we can, we took about an hour on this topic so that we can manage our time. We talked about the 2-year cycle and the key dates, which the executive director has presented us with a good schedule that takes us out from this point until 2 years so that we have a lot of review period and time for TAC to look at the project list. Again, this is talking about the regional framework is what our parking lot does. After every cycle of funding, we go back and we look at our framework to see what could we do better. And we put that in our rules to look at those things annually. And so that's what TAC is doing. We looked at and went into detail about project readiness. We really are trying to get the feel on how do we determine that. A lot of the stuff though that we have come back on that, it really leaves the flexibility up to the board, and we didn't want to tie it down with technical bureaucracy. And so we did talk about that and have some suggestions on what we could do at the technical side, but still mainly leaned on that the board really, we wanted to protect the board's flexibility in projects. Because while a project could be not started yet and very small to others, maybe a large impactful to another group, and just because one is not ready for smart scale or not ready for some other funding opportunities, we still wanted to allow CVTA to be a source of funding if the board so approved. We also, that kind of led into the considerations of the authority's priorities. We're trying to see with the development of the long-term funding plan. I don't know if you all can recall that we had about that 7 billion, was it 7 billion check worth of projects for the region. And really, if we took a look at those projects at a long-term planning, how can we determine and consider what the authority's priorities are and help that work together with the board members that come in and can capitalize on the sometimes 2 to 4 year time frame that individuals sit in these positions. So we really are looking at that to see again, how can we still move the region forward while there may be changings in people for the authority. And so we're again working closely to try to keep that. We also just talked about briefly how we consider projects related to waterways and airport and the port itself. I think we agree that it still should be through the localities. Again, those localities are borne and bearing the cost of those collected taxes. And we think that the intent of the legislation and of the guidance was for the localities to be able to put those projects in as applications. But we also have the conversation me and Adrian just had on GRTC and whether or not GRTC needs to always tie into a locality to get projects through the authority. So that started to come up. And then lastly, we've kind of tied and talked about, again, in regard to bonding and what role the authority has on any bonding capability for GRTC. And again, this is between GRTC and the TAC chair and discussing how they can leverage development within the localities that they are. TOD is a big thing going on, and it has real money ready for those projects. And really, how can we tie transportation to those bigger economic dollars and other dollars to really help a locality flourish and leverage the dollars like we haven't really leveraged before. So we're excited with that and leveraging, again, the bonding with TIFIA structures, and those things need entities like our partners around the region, again, CVTA, we have RMTA, we have other authorities that exist, and is it necessary for GRTC to need its own authority, or does it have some way that they can do that with the set-aside funds that they collect and not utilizing the regional funds? So I think some real conversations are coming up about how we can really tie in the CVTA and leveraging all those millions of dollars that we're collecting, as well as what we see forward to get towards that 7 billion vision. How can we leverage dollars to get there? So really excited to start that conversation, and we hope that the introduction of this conversation gets you all minds going into seeing how that we can, again, leverage all of our assets. Talking about assets that we have gotten ourselves into, the Fall Line Working Group discussed, like the finance chair talked about, the sports backers in the Capitol Trail have put forth interest on the management of that. I did want to make one correction on the Capitol Trail and proposed Fall Line Trail maintenance funding. Currently in the city of Richmond, VDOT does not pay for the maintenance. VDOT does not own the right-of-way, and the city owns the right-of-way and maintains that right-of-way for the Capitol Trail. And per an early MOU developed with Henrico as well, it does again give that Fall Line Trail management to the city. And so the city is very interested in who would manage it and how the maintenance of those dollars are collected for that management. So again, if VDOT is managing the Fall Line Trail for the counties, and that only costs the counties about $10,000 a month, for example, is that same cost $1 million for the city of Richmond? And who's gonna pay that $1 million? And again, how we set it up, whether it's through that managing entity having the funds through endowments to actually build a maintenance program. All of those things are very important in that structure. And so we said that the TAC would look into who's going to own it, but first figuring out what it is we want them to do. And so that's where TAC is going to take it at the technical level to see where we can get all of the levers of the dollar amounts and what would make a management work. Again, because we do have 5 localities with different responsibilities on the trail. So again, we thank the Finance Committee for allowing us and this board for allowing us to continue to look at that structure as we have Fall Line Trail groundbreakings across the region. And so Richmond is excited with our segment in the Bryant Park that we're moving forward. And of course, we're all at TAC excited about all of the other segments in Hanover and Henrico and Chesterfield that are also moving forward. So it's a lot going on, and we're excited to be working on this. We think that if we look at it from a technical lens, how can we really set this authority forward to being a leading funding and transportation investor for the region? With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Moore Clark?
Just, Ms. Clark's correct, absolutely, in the city of Richmond where they maintain their own road network system, absolutely, those rights of way easements, whatever they may be, will be part and parcel for the city. Certainly in the rest of, and let's remember that the Capitol Trail goes through 7 localities, not just the 5 that are in the CVTA, it also goes through Colonial Heights and Petersburg. So it's expected that those, in all those locations, with the exception of the city, so we're certainly anticipating through the early discussions of Fall Line Trail that it's a VDOT asset to maintain. Sorry if I didn't make that clear earlier. Certainly similar again to the Capitol Trail. Ms. Clark's correct, in the city of Richmond, that is the city's responsibility. In Henrico County and Charles City County, it's a VDOT responsibility to maintain. We do receive that allocation, again, with embellishments and enhancements that are things outside or above a VDOT minimum standard. We do work with the Capitol Trail Foundation on Capitol Trail. We would certainly envision working with some entity on Fall Line Trail if and when that's completed and those segments are completed. But from my understanding, having been involved with this over the last 4+ years, maintenance of it, the core maintenance, think of grass mowing, tree trimming, the pavement maintenance, sign maintenance, is really envisioned to be a department thing rather than those enhancements. And I was a little sort of flip earlier. Certainly, I think that just needs to be understood. That's where we've been. That position hadn't really changed from the get-go. So just want to make sure everybody understood that.
Any questions for Ms. Moore Clark? All right, we'll move on to agency updates. Mr. Parsons.
Mr. Chair, the page 58 and 59 are updates from Plan RBA and the TPO, including updating upcoming meetings as well as new staff. Plan RBA has hired several new staff members over the last several months, and their information is contained in the report. I would note that under other business, there is also, well, I would guess this is in the digital copy, the Better Together Connector, the Plan RBA newsletter. If you got this in your email, you can click through and read the newsletter and catch up on all the exciting things that are happening within the agency.
Awesome. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Davis. Thank you, sir. I just wanted to make note that Dr. McGraw is our new vice chair. Ms. Stewart from New Kent is our treasurer, and we're very happy that Mr. Atkins, Charles City, is our secretary. Plan RBA has been working very hard, working very closely with the TPO, Chairman Holland. I just want to make brief mention, I'm cognizant of the time. So the joint annual meeting, as we look at this and we're planning this out, obviously working with your staff, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Holland's staff over in Chesterfield, I don't think there's a larger meeting regionally than the joint annual meeting of CVTA, Plan RBA, and the TPO. So I would encourage a lot of leadership at the table from the state level, obviously the local level. Folks like Reverend Nelson, who I don't know if there's a regional board that he doesn't sit on. This would be an important place for a lot of the staff, and maybe either, in addition to board members, council members, to show up. There's a lot of things that go on. We have the esteemed members of the Commonwealth Transportation Board. I believe Mr. Davis will be there. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, but this is a really, really important place. I wanted to label it as a joint annual meeting as the regional jam, but they said no food trucks or music. But I do think it would certainly be important. The leadership around this table will be enhanced at the joint annual meeting with folks. So even citizens, to the point that Mr. Carroll made earlier, and we saw it in the budget for CVTA, the outreach and the dollars return on investment that the CVTA has spent on outreach, informing the citizenry of what the CVTA has done. A lot of folks were kind of on the fence about whether they wanted a CVTA in Virginia or not when it was passed legislatively. And I don't think there's very many people on the fence at all anymore. And I know that y'all did a round robin. Mr. Carroll came to Hanover last year and spoke to it. This would be a really important place to bring staff, even citizens, folks in the community, stakeholders to the joint annual meeting. It won't disappoint. And again, you'll have myself, the mayor, Chairman Holland, kind of hosting everyone, because it is truly a joint venture. So Plan RBA is working very, very diligently with that. To that end, if there's anything specific that the leadership feels it needs to be included in the joint annual meeting, please let us know. Our staff is ready to assist and deliver. And I just want to emphasize the delivery part, to assist and deliver on anything that any of the regional bodies would like to have included in the joint annual meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right, now we'll now move to Mr. Parsons. The next item is the Better Together Connector newsletter. I hear that's an information item that you want to bring attention to?
Yes, sir. That's actually in the digital version of the agenda. There's a hyperlink that you can click through to see the Plan RBA newsletter, to learn all the greatest information on the greatest and latest information on the workings of the agency.
All right, are there any member comments? Mr. Tutton, I hear you had one?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chad asked me to just give the policy board here just an update on their investment in I-64. As you guys know, the CVTA committed very generously $100 million to the expansion of I-64, give or take.
Generously.
Very, very much so. It was a great example of regional cooperation and collaboration. So for the good of the group, we have 3 segments. It's 29 miles of roadway. Segment A begins in New Kent County, goes about 11 miles. That project is under contract currently. Total value for that segment is about $244 million. Contract value very favorably is about $210 million. If you drive out there now, you'll see that is already under construction, doing tree removal. We began initial early tree removal due to a time of year restriction due to an endangered species, the northern long-eared bat. And over the next few months, you will see shoulder strengthening and active work going on if you drive at night. If you drive out there in the day, you're probably not going to see a lot of activity. That work is going on primarily at night. That segment has a fixed completion date of July of 2027. Moving further east, segment B, which is the second section in New Kent County, we expect to begin our procurement process in this summer with notice to proceed to our contract by December of this year, with a fixed completion date of June of 2028. That segment's valued at about $273 million. The third segment, the furthest to the east, that's actually in Hampton Roads District in James City County, but the Richmond District is administering the work. That segment is the last 9 miles or so, getting to Williamsburg. Contract values, our total project value is about $208 million. We just, through the CTV's action in earlier this month, I believe, we did execute a contract valued about $174 million. We expect that to begin the engineering phase in May. We'll have our internal kickoff meeting in mid-May this year, and then we expect the fixed completion date is November of 2027. We do expect to see some early work happening beginning this summer. So my big message to all you guys is if you drive that way this summer, you'll see 17, 18 miles of it under construction. By next summer, all 29 miles of it will be under active construction. It's going to be that way till the summer of 27. So the message is pretty clearly just
Take 460.
Take 460. Realizing that much of the work will be done at night, but you're going to have barrier service up. You're going to have constrained environment. It's going to be a pretty hectic 29 miles. One of the things we are working on with New Kent County and our state police partners is incident management. That we have to have a strategic look at if we have a crash, what happens when you put that barrier service there. You're constraining the environment. So we're working hard on that now, but just want to give that update. As always, I would say thanks for the investment. I think regionally, it will be a great project when it's done. Total value for those 3 segments is north of $700 million. So it's a huge investment for a roadway. So Chad, hopefully that suffices for you. If you have any questions specific, I can get with me offline or get with staff and we'll get you an answer.
You like that, Mr. Moyer?
Yes, of course we like that. Not the 3 years that'll be a problem, but, as a.
No pain, no gain, they say.
Yeah, I know. As a most HOA meetings that I've spoken at, I've told them to believe waves and follow waves directions. And if you are going off of 64, please stop at one of our businesses on 249 or Route 60, okay? We want eventually New Kent to be a place where you want to get off, not because you have to get off. Okay? So.
It's good. That might scare some residents, I imagine, but I know the deal.
I don't get the call then.
I just had a quick update. So DRPT is hosting their first 6-year improvement program meeting. In years past, we usually have hosted meetings in tandem with VDOT, but this year we are hosting our own. That will be located in our Richmond and our Northern Virginia offices. It's scheduled for May 16th at 4 p.m. There's an opportunity as well to attend virtually, so there's a virtual option that's available. But we just wanted to share this opportunity that if you have comments on our 6-year improvement program, please come and express comments on our transit and rail projects.
Any further comments from the members?
I just have a quick public service announcement. I don't know if some of you all have seen on the news that there are some scammers out there and they are sending text messages out indicating that you owe money for a toll. That is not something that we do. And
Don't be fooled.
Don't be fooled, and don't click on anything. As a matter of fact, one of my board members was watching the news report and within 10 minutes actually got the text message on his phone. So it's not just something that we're hearing about, it's something that has actually happened here in the Commonwealth. And VDOT has done a pretty good job with issuing some press releases, and we've kind of piggybacked on those as well and put a lot of information out on social media. So if you hear any of this from your constituencies, just know that it is out there, and we want people to be informed.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, I don't want to put Mr. Moyer on the spot, but May 7th, is that?
May 7th, 12 noon at the eastbound rest area in New Kent will be the dedication to the signs for the Patricia A. Page Memorial Highway. I know for sure that the one is up going eastbound. I'm not sure, I think the sign they'll have there is probably gonna be the westbound sign. So there is a very long list of invitees, and all of you, of course, I think have received the invitation too. So I think it'd be a pretty good event and showcasing what CVTA has done.
So Mike,
We'll keep our fingers crossed that the weather will cooperate with us.
Yes, it was, last time, the interesting part, it did not rain from 12 to 1.
Rested it.
Any other comments? Seeing no further business, the April meeting is adjourned.